Hi everyone and welcome back to my kOS tutorial series. Today we're going to look at variables, variable scope and the lock command. A variable is effectively made up of three parts. There's a name assigned by you that you use to refer to it by, a value which can be changed as needed, and a chunk of memory where the value is actually stored. Now with these you only need to worry about the first two because kOS hides the details of where the memory is being allocated and so on from you. As a simple example, here I'm creating a variable called myVariable. Don't worry about the command I used to create it for now, we'll get to that soon. But now that I've created a variable, I can print out the value I gave it, change the value, and print it out again to see the change. Variables are one of the most common things you'll find in any script, because storing values for later use or passing them from one part of the program to another is a very important capability. Before we look at creating variables, it's important to first understand variable scope. Scope simply refers to limits that are placed on where you can access a variable from in your program. The two basic scopes are global and local. Global variables can be accessed from anywhere in your script, while local variables are limited to one particular part of it. For now you won't see much of a difference, but these limits will become more obvious once we discuss things like control structures and functions. Just bear in mind for now that generally it's considered good practice to have as few global variables as possible. Now let's look at how I created that variable from before. There's a lot of variations on how to do this, but the two that I prefer to use as a trade-off between the amount you have to type and being explicit about what you want are this one for local variables and this one for global variables. Once you've created your variables, you can perform calculations on them and store the result in other variables however you wish. As your script is executed, the lines are evaluated one by one in order as you expect, so the result of a change to a variable is available right away in the next line of code. As an example, here I add these two values together, store the result in a variable, and then add another variable onto the result and store that in a second variable. You do have to remember that the individual lines of code don't have any persistent effect. For example, if I add the A and B variables together and store that result in C, and then I change A, this has no effect at all on C. The calculation has already been performed and the result has already been stored. If you needed C to always have the result of that calculation using the most current values of A and B, then there is a way to do this without requiring your code to perform the update itself. This is via use of the lock command as shown here. This basically instructs kOS that whenever C is accessed, it should add A and B together and then use that result. You can see the effect of that here. This is a very powerful ability in certain situations, and we'll come back to the lock command quite often in later videos. So that's all for this video. If you have any comments or questions, then let me know here or on Twitter and I'll do my best to answer. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.